Hello and welcome to this new episode of the Picturehub Show, a show where we talk about content creation and the business behind content creation. This episode today is a bit of a special one. I've got TBWA. Today I've got Sapi and Ameera.
Well, TBWA is part of Full Circle, which is a communications business. So 360 communications. We have content production, creative agency, digital, and reputation management. And I lead the team. I'm the managing director. Okay. As you know, Costa.
Ameera?
Awesome. So I'm the digital marketing manager at TBWA. I will be there for 4 years now in July, which is exciting.
Wow,
It's been an amazing 4 years. And so as a digital marketing manager, I really manage clients, digital strategies, social media management, websites, anything online, really. Influencers, everything. Yeah.
So for me, I think why I feel like this is a special episode is because I feel like organizations like TBWA are like the bridge between creators monetizing their creations and brands benefiting from creators. I think you stand in a unique position where you speak two languages, the language of the creator and the language of the corporate. So today we're trying to open up that how can creators begin to monetize, and what things are we as creators doing that is hurting our ability to monetize, And to begin with, Sapi, how would you define monetization?
Being able to make a living. Being able to make a living from what it is that you do. Whatever that is. That's monetization from my view.
Ameera?
Yeah, I agree completely. I think generating revenue, income, and income can come in different ways, Everyone just thinks it's financial. But I think, generating income from it and revenue from your platform and your audiences, online space.
Okay. Yeah. And then you said it can come in different forms. What other forms can we say?
So I think having, worked with influencers and also myself being an influencer, sometimes you'll find that maybe a brand will come in and give you a product. So you could be a telecommunications brand, for example, and say, well, we'll provide you internet for the next 12 months. And in exchange, can you talk about our brand? So you might not have been
to do that.
Right? Can we do that?
I'm happy. I'll take that.
You'll take that offer. But, so it's not necessarily being paid cash, but that's a service. It's a product that you've actually, I think that's the other side of monetizing that we often, think it's just money. But
so I guess here it's on platform and off platform monetization.
Absolutely.
Okay. And then in terms of online, like what forms does it take?
I think a lot of just maybe building from what Ameera has said in that when you get partnerships where it's clothing, it's product, it's whatever services that the brand that you've been asked to represent. But it can also be them paying you in cash. But it can also be that platform itself.
Exactly.
A lot of the platforms now actually have monetization option. You can make money from TikTok. You can make money from YouTube. So the platforms themselves have seen the value of driving, of value that they drive for brands, and have started to give back to the people that drive people to their platform. So YouTube has a monetization, and I know that there are a lot of content creators that are making a jolly good living. You have YouTube millionaires now that are 21 years old, 22-year-old, and they're making millions from that platform.
Now my question is this to what you're saying. in Africa, is it the same thing for Africa as well? I mean, specifically also talking about Zimbabwe. I know you're saying that, we do know the Mr. Beast, the Logan Pauls, but in Africa, is it the same case? Do we have YouTube or Instagram millionaires? Are people benefiting from these? Yeah.
I think in the case of Zimbabwe, there are, I think, a few, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, there are brands like Bus Stop that I think were kind of generating some decent income from that. So I think a lot of maybe the comic pastors, it's kind of like entertainers that have quite a big following.
Musicians.
Yeah, musicians, I know for sure.
Yeah.
I think they said something about how Diamond is making a crazy amount of money. I'm sure Ja Praiser as well probably makes some good income from that. But I think people who are getting impressive views, lots of subscribers, they definitely are there. But in terms of creators, I think we are still growing in Zimbabwe, but it's definitely looking promising. Okay. Yeah.
And what can creators do? Because like most of the names you mentioned, these are big people.
Exactly.
Sometimes they've got PR firms behind them. They've got agencies behind them. What does the ordinary creator, me, the blogger, kicking it with me, how do you begin to take advantage of those monetization options? What things can I start doing now? I'm not a job praiser, but how do I make sure that I'm on track to get that? Or is it something I should even be reaching for? Maybe it's a goal that I shouldn't even be,
Well, I think there's always opportunity. It just really depends on your content. I've been following African Finder. I don't know if you know about him. So he basically does reviews. But what was really unique about him is that he would literally go downtown and have like Sa and Nyama and talk about his $10 experience. People love that, of how authentic he is. Yeah. And he recently just signed a deal with Chicken Hut, for example. And so now he's in Cape Town. He's going to all these, he's doing fancy stuff as well. No, but I think looking at somebody like him who came in with a unique voice, who people resonated, I think especially as, Zimbabweans, people like, we want to see things that relate to us. So I think there's an opportunity for creators to actually find, those opportunities. Even just speaking in Shona Debele, there's a whole diaspora market. And I think there's a lot of gossip YouTube channels as well that are getting crazy views just because they, you're talking about, Zim celebrity, there are these platforms where people actually want to go there and consume content. So I think there is a lot of opportunities, and I think anyone who's wanting to start just needs to find the niche, be consistent. And I think in Zimbabwe, definitely, I think speaking in Shona and Debele would definitely help if we want to get, more views. I think it opens you up a lot more. And I think people want to see that sort of content. And you see that in all the other African countries. I was recently in Tanzania and just seeing the amount of media consumption in Tanzania is insane because I don't know what their population is, like 50 million or something crazy. And so people are making a lot of money. And I mean, that's how brands like, I keep saying Diamond because he has crazy views. But I think there's an opportunity in Zim for us to do the same. We just have to kind of start.
And Sapi, your opinion?
I agree with Ameera. The challenge with creators generally is not viewing what they do as a business.
Okay.
I think that's probably challenge number one. You have to look at what you're doing as a business if you intend for it to make money. So I think when you start, what is your end goal? Number one. Who do you want to engage? Because the online space has everyone. Do you want to talk to people who are just interested in knitting? Because they are there and you can make money from. I know there's a lady who's monetized a channel. All she does quilts. And you can really quilts. But there's space and an audience for that. So it's being able to understand that whatever it is that you are doing, if the intention is for it to generate money and you want to make a living from it, you have to look at it as a business. And businesses have life cycles, right? You start small and you grow. So you have to look at it that way. Have a plan in place. Ameera was talking about consistency. That means you have a plan. You said you have your plan, you have your goals. If it's like YouTube, you can set it already for monetization, even if you've got 100 followers. That's okay. 100 subscribers. Understand what are the metrics that YouTube wants. YouTube looks at hours viewed, and there's a threshold in terms of your minimum subscribers should be 1,000. You should have a minimum of 4,000 viewing hours. Exactly. So know all those things about whatever platform you want to be on, and then focus. Perhaps don't spread yourself too thin. You know, what it is that you're really good at, that you're bringing to the table. If it's going to be, like Ameera was talking about, people love food. They want to see something that's authentic. They want to hear something that's local. They want to see someone who's like them. And, you know, that whole, connecting me to back home if it's a diaspora market.
Yeah.
So be quite clear and focused so that you're just not doing everything.
Yeah.
You're doing something and you are focused. But understand the platform is very important. Look at it as a business and treat it as such. You've got to respect it. Otherwise, it's not going to respect you back.
Okay. So what resources would you say, or what things can creators start to look at? And I'll give an example. I do get young creators sometimes sending me a message or DMing me and asking, okay, I'm interested in this. You know, what should I do? And most of the times it's like creators, you know, they'll say, I've got a camera, or I do this with my phone. How can someone like that? And usually sometimes it's like someone in high school, you know, where do they start? I mean, you're saying treat it as a business. I have no concept of what a business is, you know, except maybe seeing someone on YouTube saying that, or they're the businessman or whatever. Where do I start? Like, say, if you were to choose 3 things that I could do, what would those things be?
Find a mentor. So if they're DMing you, that's fantastic. That's a great start. Because they've obviously seen something that you're doing. And they're like, oh, there's something that Costa's doing right. So I think that's the first place I would say. Find a mentor or a coach who can guide you along the way. And, you know, YouTube and Google will tell you how do you start a business. It will literally help you. You can Google it.
Okay.
So Googling that plus having a mentor. So I think for me, the first thing is get someone that you can just sit at their feet and just ask. So how do I do this? What about this? This is what I've got. I've just got a camera, etc. And they will be able to guide you, you know, and I'm being pretty serious. I mean, YouTube will teach you and show you many things. So at least you can get a couple of steps. And just start. I think for me that would be the 3. Okay. I don't know if Ameera agrees, but that would be the 3 because she's a blogger. Award-winning, FYI.
So Ameera, tell us.
Absolutely. I think starting is so important. You actually have to write down, I think, kind of goal setting of where you want to position yourself. And look, along the way, sometimes things change. I remember I started off when I was like kind of into fashion, and then it became, you know, travel and lifestyle now. So things do change, but I think if you have an idea of the space you want to play in, it makes life easier. So I think that's really important. Starting and having a vision. Secondly, I really think collaborating is important. You know, so we actually had this funny conversation the other day with creators. They'd be like, "Paul, you're great at taking videos, and I'm great at, you know, post-production or whatever it is." So yes, you might not have the best cameras, but you might be able to approach someone and say, "Look, you want to grow your portfolio. I have this great concept, so let's work together." So I think people should do that. And I think sometimes I don't know if it's just us as Zimbabweans, we kind of want to do things on, but actually let's take each other. Let's collaborate. And okay, you're great at fashion, I'm great at this, you know, and together you've kind of put something together. I think that's so important. And then I think learning and growing is so important. I think that would be the last one, is to just keep, you know, assessing to see, okay, does this work? Does this not work? Because I mean, I've been doing this for 10 years, but I still don't have the perfect, you know, formula for everything. But you just have to, you know, just go ahead and kind of figure it out. And, you know, there was a time I was like, I really need to invest in my cameras. And I realized, well, the iPhone does a pretty good job. I'm killing 2 birds with one stone. It helps with my story. So, okay, I don't have the budget right now to buy the cameras that I have. I'll still collaborate with people who do. But, you know, in between, it makes sense to have a good smartphone, for example. So I think you just have to assess and see what works for you. That would be my kind of last tip.
I really love the one about collaboration. Actually, as I was driving here, I was thinking exactly the same thing, that there's so little of that that we do, and yet there's so much power
in doing
collaboration. You get 2 audiences, and you just don't know what magic you could create together. And not only the magic, but what rewards you could get doing it together.
What we learn from each other.
I think that's so
a beautiful
so
thing to work together.
And then when we bring it off platform, does I know we kind of then define that, look, you could monetize on platform and off platform. Off platform, and I'll pose this to you, Sapi. Do you think creators are doing, or maybe let me give an example. Are there creators who you look at their work and think, if this person just changed this, they could make so much money?
So I want to understand if you ask me your question correctly. So how do you take the magic you're doing online and how do you take that offline?
Yes. So to say, how do you monetize offline?
Okay.
Yeah, offline.
So more kind of like your partnership with corporate. So like how could you get
Okay.
offline, or whether someone buying something from you, or
yes, because we're doing the work where we're creating content and it's living online, and then there are possibilities of you growing your audience and then getting paid by the platform. But what of off platform? Because I'm imagining getting 1,000 subs and 10,000 watch hours is not like a walk in the park.
Yeah, it's
It's not.
But does that mean, because I would feel hopeless to say, okay, if I want to do this as a career, how many years is it going to take me to get those numbers? But then I do have good engagement on my small audience. Maybe it's 1,000, 10,000, but it's...
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I see what you mean. So in terms of looking for partnership opportunities, the offline threw me a little bit because I'm thinking even if you have a brand partnership, that is taking advantage of your influence, whether it's micro or it's macro, because then that's the difference.
Yeah.
If you are 1,000 people, but you talk to those people, they rely on you, they listen to what you say, that engagement is a powerful source. And it's a powerful audience for a brand that would match the kind of conversations that you're having. And you can definitely get value for that. And I think that's what Ameera sort of mentioned at the beginning, where that partnership with brands may not necessarily come in the form of cash, but it could be an exchange of services, of product and things like that. But they're taking advantage of of your reputation online and what they see you do online, and they love what it is that you do. So those opportunities absolutely exist if you're consistent in what it is that you talk about, and if you engage your community, whether it's actually 500 or it's 1,000, But the people talk to you and you talk to them, and that's very appealing because clearly the 500, the 1,000, the 2,000, or the 10,000 that you have, if you say, go left, not that they will go left, because you're not like a cult, but they will engage and want to talk to you, and products will want to weave their message into that space, because they know that they will get insights and they will get they'll get conversation happening around a service or a brand that they own. So yeah, definitely.
Okay. Yeah. And you?
Yeah, I agree completely. And I think the offline for me is actually, in terms of the Zim market, is more realistic at this stage in terms of what I'm seeing. I think that brands are now becoming a bit more open to understanding the gains of working with influencers and their audiences. I think the biggest battle, obviously working in an agency and being an influencer myself, is that I think brands just think numbers. Right? And that's always been the biggest thing. Oh, what's their number? What's the number? Like, I think there's a lot of things that people need to look at, like what's their quality of content? What's their engagement like? What are you an oil brand and you're trying to work with someone who's a foodie, but maybe they only have 6,000, but they have crazy engagement where they maybe have like 900 likes. But you're thinking you need to partner with someone with 50,000 followers, but their audience is not interested in cooking. Maybe it's comedy skits that they're doing. It doesn't match with the brand. So I think for us, the biggest battle as agency is trying to explain to our clients sometimes that, yes, numbers are important, but let's also look at the overall, I think, influence and what your goal is. Because sometimes working with people who have highly engaged smaller audiences might work better, work better for them. So I think that's always the bit of the battle, is trying to make people understand that, because I think sometimes the focus is on numbers, not necessarily what the brand voice is and what the brand vision is. And then you end up working with people and you're like, oh, but look, we work with this influencer and paid all this money.
Yeah.
And some people start thinking that brand ambassadors and influencers are the same thing, which is completely different. So I think there's just a need for kind of education on that.
Influencer and brand ambassador.
Two very different things.
Things, yeah.
How are they?
Before I answer how they're different, just to build on what Ameera said, it's also just some of the challenge that I think we experience looking at our clients is, what is the objective of their campaign? I mean, what is it that they want to do? Is it trial? Is it awareness? Because then you can match based on, because if you have a mega influencer, for instance, are you looking for awareness? Are you looking for trial? Because they will do something that maybe a micro can't, but there's something that a micro who is 500 or 1,000 strong can do for you that a 1 million
really
cannot do. Absolutely. So it really also, what are the objectives of that specific campaign that you need? And then you find the match, in addition to what Ameera said, your tone, your voice, the content, and the brand. There's quite a bit that you need to analyze and be able to kind of think through strategically.
Okay. And then bringing it to more of the bigger creators. I've noticed that there's been an increase in creator-led brands where creators with big influence have decided not to partner or kind of do work for brands, and have decided to launch competing brands. You know, you have what's that? There's a streaming platform that was mainly by artists. What was the name?
Is this the one that Jay-Z and...
Yes.
I forgot the name.
Yes, where
it's left me, but I remember.
Yeah, where it's like creators got together, created a streaming platform. So now you're not really waiting for the bigger brands or other products. But then not only that, I mean, Mr. Beast is a good example.
Yeah.
He's doing feastables, like the chocolates. You know, that's his own product that he's making. Besides that, he's got burgers as well. And then you've got KSI, Logan Paul with their energy drink. And their numbers are like outpacing the regular brands. How does Africa take part in that? You know, how do we as African creators? Is it just reserved for the big numbered people, or can corporates also get in on that as well? Who leads there?
Africa's got the numbers. As Africa, I mean, we're the next big. We are the big thing now. I mean, we're in the billions. We have a very young population. So I think as a continent, we definitely have the numbers. But if you want to bring it down, and let's talk about maybe Zim, for instance. And if an influencer or let me not call it influencer in the context of the conversation, a creator has an idea for a product or a service, and they want to ride off their influence. I think it's very possible, but you have to look at I think our market size. And the journey, because you're literally starting a new brand. It's not only creators actually that create brands, your musicians, your actors. I mean, there's whiskers, there's cigars, there's fashion lines. I mean, Rihanna has done
beauty,
beauty. That's another way of just extending. And for them, it's a revenue line, because they look at themselves as a business, right? And they say, okay, so I'm singing, that's my content, that's how I create. But what are the other avenues? What are other revenue streams are there for me? So it's looking at it as a revenue stream, and it's really literally going into a new product line, you know, whatever that is, a new service, a new product, a new this, from the kind of content that you are creating. So your Mr. Beasts, etc., have, I mean, amazing numbers, and they're just simply leveraging on that with that subtitle. It's like Endorser, you know, it's like you've got Red Seal, a product of National Foods. So in this case, it's Red Seal is riding on National Foods. People know, anything that comes from National Foods is going to be great quality, etc. So it's like, this is Mr. Beast, and because he's got massive following, he can actually afford to go into where he's seen as another business opportunity to say, oh, I can do that and I can endorse it, a product of, Mr. Bean. And he's got a whole platform that he's created that he uses to create awareness, generate trial, etc., etc. And he has a whole system now behind him. He's got a CEO, he's got this. All he's now doing is just thinking of what is the next big thing from his view. So I think in our context, to leverage off, like if our megas, we've got probably like a handful of mega content creators, mostly in the music space. We've got one or two in the comedy type, that sort of space, but mostly they're musicians, right? It's entertainment space. So if they were to decide, I want to do a fashion brand and make it really, really work in Zim, I think you have to look at the dynamics of our market and the kind of audiences that we have. Are we celebrity? Are we this? Are we this? I mean, if someone says, buy this, even if you're mega, will that happen? It might be an opportunity. We were having the conversation a bit earlier, Costa, for corporates to ride on and to partner. And it could be what Ameera talked about, the power of collaboration, where you come in and say, I think I've seen an opportunity in the market for X. And I think we could really make it work, and then put a whole business plan together. Because believe you me, Mr. Beast did that before. Just his machinery behind him did all of that. And what we saw was probably researched, designed, everything. You're literally looking at starting a new revenue line. So I think the opportunities there, if you look at your Nigerias or Kenyas that already have a huge market, that can then take and consume that, and run with it, and who also, I think, have a very different sort of celebrity culture than we do here in Zim specifically. Maybe South Africa, I've seen a lot of South African content creators do that sort of thing and actually make successful products out of the platforms that they've built.
And I think in South Africa, they've done it really well. So, I mean, I know there's a bit of politics with Bonang sparkling wine, but I think she just partnered with someone and they basically put her name, and that was great for her. I mean, it really did work well. But you have all the other ones. I think Pro 2C, DJ Zintle. DJ Zintle has her watches and those sort of things. So I think it makes sense for brands to kind of partner with them, but obviously you using their name, and then they obviously agree on commissions and those sort of things. But I think even in the case of Zimbabwe, there could be opportunities to do that, because also the capital to kind of start that. So it might make sense to go in with a partner and have some sort of, written contracts and agreements in terms of how the partnerships would work. So definitely a lot of opportunities there.
There is a big corporate, and maybe they're trying to launch a specific product. Maybe it can exist as a separate entity that has the face of someone else, but then you're now leveraging from, because I think what Madam Boss has like over 1 million fans on Facebook. Now imagine if only 10% of that subscribed to whatever product or platform that you have. What kind of numbers would you do? Even if it was just 0.5%, and maybe it's something that's subscription based.
And I think definitely from an agency perspective, there's definitely a lot of exciting ways that we could actually, push things like unique URL codes so that you could actually track that if people have specific codes. So it becomes easier so that we can actually say, okay, in terms of lead generation, did this influencer, did 10% of their 1 million actually, sign up or whatever it is. So I think if we can also have those systems in place so that corporates also can track that. I know I have an acquaintance who's worked in the marketing space who spoke about how they were trying to push an app. And so they had a whole bunch of macro influencers, and then they also did nano influencers, and they were surprised that the nano influencers actually got more people signing up than the macro influencers.
Really?
Yeah. So I think having tracking codes is definitely something that could be a game changer. So that brands can actually use data to kind of, support where their campaign's been a success. So I think as the middle people, definitely I think that's an opportunity that we hope that more brands are hopefully be more open to, and also working with the influencers that we can have favorable agreements. Because one of the biggest challenges also is when you work with influencers or these creators, sometimes when they hear corporates involved,
the cost goes up.
The cost goes unbelievable, and it gets to a point where, you know, even if we have a client that's interested, it's like, well, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So I think there just needs to be a lot of, you know, also us as the middlemen to just kind of also groom influencers to understand the business side of things.
Yeah.
And I think also when you prove your value to something, it becomes easier for you to say, well, look, actually, and then you can negotiate a better deal.
Okay. And then in terms of, because now you see the insights that you're learning from, because for me, I would have never believed, just as an example, I would have never believed that as a person with 500 followers, I can monetize, you know. But then now you're telling me, okay, micro influencers, nano, and you can actually get results. How can we begin to have conversations like this? Or are there platforms where corporates can get access to some of this information? Because sometimes I feel like when you do talk to creators, it feels like a little bit hopeless, you know, to say, okay, I'm not so-and-so. Because within each industry, you know, okay, they're the big creators. If it's cooking, you're making, you know, okay, there's so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. They've got 100,000, 200, 300,000. And I just have a few cousins and my mom and her friends following me, you know. How can we then get corporates to then understand that, okay, it depends on the goals, one, and you could actually get tangible results?
Through agencies. Like Ameera explained, through agencies. I think people just have to, our creators have to package themselves. And you don't have to be massive to be excellent at all.
Yeah.
That should just be a personal code. And just how do you package yourself? And to not be afraid to approach agencies, you know, to say, this is me. This is what analyze the stuff. Analyze your space that you're in, so that you can make a case. So I think agencies, like you said, play a pivotal role, because we are in between. If you see a brand that's working with a specific agency and you think or you believe that you are the right platform and this is what you could do, do something. Approach the agency and say, look, this is what I did, you know, for client X, and I really think 1, 2, 3, 4, so that there is, you know, there is. You're showing thought, you're showing being able to fit what you do into the space of the brand, which of course is what the brand would be looking for. And then have a conversation with said agency. I know in SA, influencer agencies are really big now because the rise of influence. And if you're a creator, you are sort of, because you are creating content. So there are people that actually manage and help to grow you from X to and match with a specific brand, etc. And being able to give opportunity to different people.
My challenge now with a scenario like that is I'm not even aware that a person with 500 followers with heavy engagement could actually monetize. How are there creator agencies in Zim? You know, how can, as a creator, I may have goals, but sometimes I may feel like, okay, it's overwhelming to try and get to 65,000 or 100,000. And maybe it's actually a career opportunity, but because I don't view it as such, I never get to partake. And yet agencies have all this information. I guess also maybe there's also the issue of trying to also protect
your IP.
Yeah,
you're afraid that your idea would be stolen, or you don't until you try.
I was about to say, I mean, it's a tricky one, because I feel like as an influencer, sometimes you have to take risks. And also as a client, you also have to take risks. So I think from the influencer perspective is you shouldn't be afraid to knock on people's doors. You can give an idea, but people might not be able to execute it, or you have to make it, I think, to a point where it makes sense for yourself and to protect yourself. But I mean, I think it's a very rare case, because obviously if you're trying to sell something, it's including you in it. So it'll be kind of hard, I feel, for a brand to kind of I'm sure there's some weird stories where that's happened, but I think the way you position yourself just to make sure you're protected is important. I mean, I'll give you an example of my personal brand. I mean, I've worked with a lot of Zimbabwean companies, but recently I was like, you know what, let me try and actually expand outside Zim. And I was surprised that people were actually quite open to it, you know. But if I never went and put myself out there, I would have just said, well, I think I can only do Zim. But I was like, why not? Why can't I actually partner with other brands? So if I didn't take that step to just kind of approach people, which, yes, you can do it through an agency or if you know someone, but sometimes there's nothing wrong with just introducing yourself to someone and saying, look, I think you have a great brand. I'd love to collaborate. And if you do that with quite a few brands, you'll be surprised how many actually will respond to you. If they see your value. And I think it's also important on, you know, the client perspective, if you're running any marketing, you also need to be looking out for what trends are. So I think it's also, there's a responsibility, like if you're running a brand, you need to see what's happening, you know, within the country, globally, internationally, because then you actually find opportunities. Because I think there's no brand now that I think everyone should be looking forward to, like how they can partner with other people that work well with their brands. So I think there's that responsibility on the client side. And obviously as agency, our role is always there to execute our clients' campaigns and see opportunities for them. So I think there can be a beautiful relationship between all of that. I think brands just need to also be open-minded and influencers present themselves in a way where a brand's going to take you seriously. I think that's so important.
I think I like that idea very much, where you said don't limit yourself to your location, you know, and then just try. Because sometimes something might work, sometimes your idea might be stolen, or you know. But I guess it's
a risk.
It's a risk. I had one experience at the big, I won't say their name. I had an idea, so I spoke to someone who's in management and said, okay, speak to someone in marketing. So they're very hard to get, so managed to get through. Then person says, okay, I heard about your thing, send me a voice note and tell me what it is. So I then went in and explained the whole thing.
Voice note.
Sent the voice note. Never heard back from them. And would message, calls weren't being picked up, but then later on that idea was then implemented by another creator.
Oh, that's so unfortunate.
But then the thing is, you can't stop. You will get things like that. And I think it's good to then not stop, because sometimes all you need is that one, you know, that then takes you to the next level. Then in closing, what do you think is the impact of AI on monetization?
It's only making creating content quicker.
What to say?
Quicker and quicker. And I think there are aspects that, I mean, already we're seeing a lot of what would be core to the creation business being in-housed by clients. And AI will probably accelerate that. We already have quite a number of clients on the back of wanting a faster turnaround, tighter budgets, in-housing, and not even tighter budgets, but in bigger markets like South Africa, your telecoms, in-house, like on the digital side, they in-house their agencies because they just want that speed. So they have the luxury, they have big budgets, so they can have 3-4 agencies, but I guarantee you they will also have like an in-house content creation team for the sake of speed, etc. So already there's a lot of eating of the pie in terms of what we do, because we're all, you know, I mean, we're in this sort of space, maybe different ends of it, different sides of the coin, but kind of like the same coin. So I think AI will will probably quicken the pace at which the pie is being eaten. So there needs to be agility in thinking, openness to how can I take advantage of, AI in terms of what it is that I do, so that maybe I'm quicker to market.
And then maybe as a creator, how do you think it impacts your ability to monetize?
I think definitely in terms of efficiency, AI is just changing the game in that regard, that it's making us a lot more efficient. I think, is it Jack Ma and Elon Musk had this whole debate about whether AI is going to be better than human resources or whatever. They had this whole debate, and Jack Ma was basically saying, and as much as we depend on machines, human beings still kind of have to control that aspect of it. So I think there's a limit to how much AI can change, but I think it's definitely going to help people. In terms of its costs, I think it might be quite expensive, depending. Some of them seem to have quite a bit of subscriptions to sign up for it. Yeah. So I think in terms of accessibility, it'll be interesting to see how much AI is going to cost. Not everybody might have access to that. So I think as a creator, maybe as you grow, you might find yourself being able to use some of these tools. But there's also a lot of interesting free tools that are accessible for creators that they can use. So yeah, I think it's definitely an interesting space that's forever changing, but will definitely make us more efficient. And if you have access to it as well, will definitely be a game changer.
It's beneficial for creators to know, hey, just because it says Stanbic doesn't mean you're charging 10K or, and then also to another creator doesn't mean you've got 200 followers. You can actually go and talk to Old Mutual or whatever, or whoever. And I feel like not all corporates are open enough, or there are just a lot of assumptions that are made, sometimes where it's like, okay, numbers. But maybe sometimes it's not just about that. So think about that.
Absolutely.
The CreatorCon.
CreatorCon.
Are you a Comic-Con fan?
Yeah, well.
Probably.
Yeah.
Likely.
Yeah. Thank you for tuning in, and see you in the next one.
Picturehub is a fully fledged content creation studio based in Harare, Zimbabwe. At our core, we are storytellers with a focus on film production, photography, and voice recording. We believe that the essence of any organization, corporate brand, or individual is a well-curated story. Our passion lies in bringing these stories to life authentically with undeniable excellence. Our portfolio includes television commercials, web series, documentaries, podcasts, and voice recordings. For more information, visit our website www.picturehubzim.com or email info@picturehubzim.com for inquiries.